Hello, Graham from ArionGames here again, and for today's video I want to just quickly talk about something that came up in a discussion I had recently with one of my group about Advanced Fighting Fantasy. And I pointed out that AFF is, in part at least, a resource management game, and obviously my player pointed out, well, so are all RPGs, and they are, but there are certain elements to it that are not exactly unique to Advanced Fighting Fantasy, but quite specific to it. Firstly, you have two major resources, and obviously I want to exclude magic points here because that's quite an easy resource management. The more spells you cast, the quicker they go down, you get them back every day. That's very much like most games where you get your spells back every day. But where Advanced Fighting Fantasy is somewhat different is that you've got both your stamina to manage and your luck. So I'll start with stamina. Stamina obviously is your hit points. It's how tough you are, and it's how many blows you can take in combat. You recover it when you sleep, but you only get back a few when you sleep. So if you're injured 3, 4, 5 times in a fight, you might get 1 or maybe 2 of those injuries restored during your sleep, not all of it. Your other main way of restoring stamina is through eating provisions, eating meals. Now, certainly in a dungeon or a wilderness adventure, you then have, if you like, an added resource management, which is your provisions. You may well have 6 provisions at the start of your trip to last 3 days. That's 2 a day. Well, that's fine. But what if you get lost? What if something spoils your provisions? And anyone who's played any of the game books will know that there are things that steal your provisions, eat your provisions. You may well have to use them as bait for a wild animal, etc. So you may well start with 6 provisions, but if getting past that giant bear without a fight means giving up 1 of your provisions, is that worth it? Well, obviously, if you're going to beat the bear easily, no. But what if the bear then does more damage to you than those provisions would heal? Well, then it becomes worth it. But of course, you need to have enough provisions to eat at least once a day, otherwise you lose stamina. So managing your provisions over a longer adventure is really, really important, because that manages your stamina recovery over that time. And healing, magical healing, is relatively limited. Yes, your priest can heal a few points. A really good priest might be able to heal 5, 6, 7 points once a day, but that's only one person. So magical healing is quite limited. Your provisions are quite limited. You can only eat 2 of them a day to get benefit from. Now, if there are towns and taverns, you can buy more provisions, but there may not be. You may not know what is there on the journey. So you've got to predict, you've got to balance what you can do and what you can't do at different stages of the adventure. And of course, what adds further complexity to that resource management of stamina is sorcerers, because not only is a sorcerer's hit points governed by their stamina, but so is their spell casting. So they have some potent spells. The fireball does quite a lot of damage, hot does quite a lot of damage, but costs 4 stamina. Now if you start with 12, that's a third of your stamina gone, and you've got to eat 2 meals to recover that fireball alone. But if you get hit once, then that's the sleep. So one blow in combat and 1 spell is your entire daily stamina recovery from food and sleeping, which means that you're limited in what you can do. Now, of course, one thing that mitigates against all of these is your potion of stamina. Now, all starting adventurers begin with a potion of stamina, skill, luck, etc. And stamina is a very common one to choose. And it will heal your stamina all the way back up to its starting level. But they're really, really expensive to replace, and you have 1. Do you use it? Do you keep it? Do you keep it till you're down to 2 or 3 stamina? Well, if you're a sorcerer, it might mean you can't cast any spells for half an adventure. So again, it's managing those resources you have, the stamina potion, the food, etc. And that's obviously familiar to anyone who's played through the game books. And the game books often will start you with two provisions. There will be certain things that will lose you stamina, like you fall in a lake and half your provisions are ruined, or you're attacked by magical squirrels that steal half your provisions, whatever it might be. And of course, an AFF adventure is not necessarily going to be any different. You're often going to have to deal with those problems. And then that brings me to luck. So luck is obviously another element. You start with a given amount of luck, 8 to 12 maybe, depending on your race. And that luck is your magic resistance. So an evil wizard casts a mind control spell on you, you get a save for luck to avoid it. Equally, it's your avoidance of traps. So there's a pit trap opens up, you test for luck to avoid it. But of course, because the luck mechanism in both the game books and the RPG say that every time you test it, you decrease your current luck score by 1, means that you get diminishing returns. Every time you test it, you are less likely to pass the next test. Now, even if you fail the next test, it still goes down by 1 again, which means you're more likely to fail the next one and more likely to fail the next one, and so on. Now, you always, and this is something that is really, really important to remember in AFF, you always have the opportunity to willingly fail and not lose a point. So an enemy casts a spell at you, you have a luck test to avoid the effects, you can say, nope, I'm going to take it and keep my luck point intact. Similarly, a pit trap opens up beneath you, can think, I can take that, that's no problem. And you can willingly fail the luck test. That means you reserve those luck points. Because, again, the game books whittle down your luck throughout the course of it, and then when you need it most, when you get towards the end, is often when you've got the lowest luck. So, but of course, if you don't test for luck all the way through, you might not even survive to get to the end. So it very much is a balance over what you use. And of course, you can also use luck in combat. You're fighting a tough enemy, you're losing, you could use luck to do more damage, to take less damage. You can use luck to swing a fight. But again, those luck points go. And so it's all very well swinging a fight and just surviving it, and then you fall in the next trap and you take loads of damage because you didn't have any luck left. So pushing your luck can be problematic. And whereas stamina, you know, if you've got enough provisions, you're going to recover maybe 7 every day. So you've almost got like a budget of stamina you can spend every day that you know you can get back. Luck, you might get 1 or maybe 2 points back through the course of the adventure. You make a good decision, you find a magical item. You know, whenever you get some good fortune, you can get a luck point back. But you're not guaranteed to get those. Nor are you guaranteed to get all of your luck back at the end of a session, at the end of an adventure. You may do, big adventure. You may do for beating the enemy, get all your luck back or quite a lot of it back. But there is no guarantee of that. So luck as a resource travels over between adventures. If you use it all in one, you're not going to have much for the next one. And so you're trying to balance the spending of luck and the use of luck, both voluntary and, if you like, involuntary, with survival. And again, it is a real trick. And my player did say to me, well, luck is a bit pointless because, you know, so what if I've got 7 luck to begin with? I'll still pass more than half that first test, yes. But because the bell curve, once you've failed or passed 1, 2, 3 maybe luck tests, you've only got a small chance of making the subsequent ones. If you start with 11 or 12 as a human, you pass your first one automatically, your second one almost certainly you'll pass, the third one you'll almost certainly pass, the fourth one probably, fifth one probably, and by the time you get to the 6th one, it's, yeah, should do, about half. And then the 7th test is when you start to think, it's a bit risky here. So starting with that much higher luck can ensure your survival, where other characters who are focused on skill, stamina, magic may not. So it was just an interesting conversation I had that sparked this video, and it's something to remember. Obviously games like D&D 4th edition, you've almost got different types of resource management. You've got per encounter, you've got per day, etc. and so on. And different games you have it almost per hour, per day, per week. But with this, luck is very much a long-term resource management, stamina is by the day. So I'm going to leave it there. It was just something I wanted to talk through, almost a design element of the game. With the game books, it was intentional, and I think it carries over well to AFF, and it adds just a little extra something to the game. Thank you very much, and until next time, good gaming.